Hi guys, so welcome to a Saad Talks live vlog slash blog. In this episode, we'll be basically talking about something I learned recently in my search and quest for learning new tools and business techniques to apply in the real world and teams, which is called TAM, which is a team alignment map. I'm going to be screen sharing now, so I'll explain everything over there. But essentially, what it is used for, it's used for aligning different teams or aligning teams so that everyone's working towards a certain goal, a certain vision, instead of everything being disoriented everywhere. And even though people are doing work, it doesn't lead to what the intended outcome. So that is the overall crux of what TAM is. I recently read an excellent book about it, and honestly, I enjoyed it. It was around 250 pages, but it was like I'll show you like a few pages of the book as well right now. It was excellent. It's one of the concepts which I feel if I used before, it would have actually helped me a bit more as well when I served in student organizations at university. But now, obviously, in the real world, I'll try to apply that every time I kind of get a leadership position in any project or something like that. So now we're going to just head to that screen sharing part where I'm just going to teach you guys what TAM is and give you an overview of how you can utilize it. Okay, so one of the things I really want to emphasize before I go into explaining everything is every time you see such ideas or such concepts, what you want to do is you want to utilize them as tools. You don't want to utilize them as your leadership philosophy. There's a blog I wrote recently about the difference between leadership and management, and all of these tools basically guide you towards gives you a lot more time and freedom so you can be a better leader. But these are management tools, so it's very important that you understand the difference between management and leadership and utilize whatever you learn, such as Six Sigma, TAM, project management tools, everything like that, as simply tools. So let's go into TAM. This is essentially what TAM is. It's extremely simple. There's nothing deep about it. But I'm gonna go through the whole objective. I have a few notes I've written down as well, which I'm gonna get you guys through, and hopefully in the next 10-15 minutes I can explain to you the entire concept of what TAM is, so you guys can maybe start utilizing it in your activities, your project stuff, and all of that. So TAM essentially means team alignment map. I'm going to move my screen over here. So this feels like I'm teaching a class. So it's team alignment map. Okay. And what it does is, let's say, by definition, what alignment is, this is basically the whole point of this. So what happens is a lot of people start doing projects. Let's say in your course projects, everyone maybe has a certain part to do so that the report can be completed. In projects such as including in the labs, people have certain things to do. The analogy that's used in this book is, for example, furniture. So let's say you have two people working on building a bed, right? But if those two people are not following the same manual, or they don't agree to who's doing what, this bed will not end up looking like a bed. It will end up looking at something different, or it's going to take too long to build. There's going to be waste of time, there's going to be waste of effort, etc. So that's essentially one of the reasons why team alignment map I feel is such a great tool. The other reason is there's something called perception gap. All right, perception gap. And what happens is, let's say you're in a team of 6 people, right? What you want to do is you kind of want to predict what the other person is thinking or how the other person is working. And when you can't do that, then there's a gap between perceptions. So if this perception gap is too big, this always will lead to confusion, and confusion will lead to disorganized work, which will lead to you guys not achieving your goals and objectives. So TAM is essentially used as a mechanism to kind of understand everything from the start. So there's a clarity and everyone has a voice. One of the great things about this is the fact that everyone also has a voice. In a lot of business tools, a lot of leaders just like throw out ideas at people, and they're just like, all right, go ahead and like make things happen. But in this one, everyone kind of have a voice, and they build things together. So that's a specialty of this. So I'm going to show you guys this first briefly, give you a few questions that you can use to make to utilize this as best as you can, and then it's over to you, however you want to use it. So First thing you want to fill out is the mission. From my understanding, and I think that is the right understanding, mission essentially means a project. And what do you want to achieve in that project? Now, Tam, one of the questions I had when reading it was, how big or small does a project have to be for us to utilize TAM? And the answer is it can be any size. If this project is too big, you can break it down into several projects and build a TAM on it. If the project is too small, it's still doable because a project itself is a project. As long as you have a team and you need to align them to a certain goal. And if you're an engineer, you probably would have heard convergence. What you want to do is you want to converge everyone towards the same target. What sometimes happens is people end up working this way, some others are working here, one person might be working towards a target. So I don't know if you know adding vectors, and it ends up being like this. So you don't end up, achieving whatever target you wanted to do. So over here you write down what the project is. Let's say in our case, one thing which we had was do an introductory event, right? For example, introductory event, right? And the period is how long is this project for? So that includes the planning, the event happening, and then the closing. So now I feel that this event introduction could be broken down into those three sections. So for me, this will be do a introduction event, all the pre-work, right? So I'm gonna say that's 1 week, and I should explicitly say here pre-work so the team understands that. Joint objectives, I write down what are the tasks. Essentially, this stands for tasks. I think what was said in TAM was that objectives are quantifiable goals. That's how it explained it. But if you really want to simplify it, it just means you just put down whatever the tasks are. So the task would be, I don't know, make a poster, right? Do marketing, right? I'm making things up, and find money, buy equipment. And obviously I'm going to go back and show you like better ways to write down these questions, write down these tasks and other things, so you kind of better understand it as to how to use it. And then joint commitments essentially is who is going to do what. Again, just remember, I'm going to go back and show you the best way to do this, and then you can maybe screenshot those templates as well. So like who does what over here, for example, you're going to write down that, let's say, make a poster will be done by person X, and they will be doing this in this much time, right? Do marketing, this person will be doing it in this much time. Find the money, this person is responsible in this much time. Buy equipment, this person is responsible in this much time. So that's basically the crux of all of this. Joint resources is now basically what you need to achieve these things. So how I like to think of it is you can do it like in order like this, so it basically links up, but you can also do it in like a random order, so like this resource linked to this resource is linked to this, etc., etc. So for example, to make a poster, I might need access to Canva. To do marketing, I might need access to, I don't know, Instagram. And then to do this, to find money, I need access to, I don't know, our bank details or our email address or something like that. And then finally you have something called joint risk. So what can prevent us from succeeding, essentially? And over here you write down what kind of risks can come in the ways. For example, not enough time, not enough money, things like this. So all of this process of going from mission till this way, this is what we call I'm going to write this in green, it's called the forward pass. So you're doing the forward pass and all of this. Then what you want to do is you want to do a backward pass as well. So the backward pass is you take these things and you turn them into joint objectives and joint commitments. So you don't think of them as issues on the way, or you don't think of these things as kind of things that will be obstacles for you achieving things, but rather as more tasks to make things happen. So for example, if you use that joint resource Canva, you can take this as a task over here and say that find Canva's account, for example, and then you can put a person associated with it. So like this basically ends up not being there anymore. Why am I erasing that? So then essentially what you want these two columns, rows, to be technically empty. But there's a few things you can't remove, obviously. There's a few risks that are out of your control or that your team can't control. So you basically understand that they're just going to be there, and you basically go ahead with your project that way. So that's essentially what TAM is. I'm going to show you guys one more thing before I go into showing the different ways you can do the TAM. So what happens is you can have a team alignment map, the same thing as before, but now you have these things. So it's clear, explicit, available, under control. You have these different things, and this is basically where you try to understand where the team stands in terms of the information that you guys have just discussed. So in this case, for instance, you basically put people to a vote. You ask them certain questions, and there's templates for that as well. Do you fully understand the objectives? And these are like anonymous things, and then basically you say where you're at. So let's say you're at neutral here, you're at available here, you're at implicit here, you're at under control here, based on the survey, which is a score from 0 to 10. Then from there you can go back and try to bring whatever is under this region, you try to bring it back up to this region. So that's one of the other things which is important while utilizing TAM. One other thing is a team contract. Now what happens is people just read off a constitution and they say this is it, but no one really follows it. So it's very important, and this is something I like about this, that you really want to have an inclusive approach every time you're doing things such as making a team contract, agreements, things like that. You could enforce a few on people, but it's always better for them to think that those ideas came from them, or they do actually come from them, because the only way to get people to do something is if they want to do it. So this is the reason for this. So this is basically like a unofficial way of writing different cultures, different codes, different things you really want your team to do. Like for example, don't be late, always be prepared to meetings, and out is, for example, other things you do not want your company or this project to have at all. Obviously you have the team name here. So for example, what is something you don't want in your team? Replying more than 48 hours later after a message has been sent to them, for example. So this is basically where the team contract comes in. Now I said 10 minutes, so I'm going to take only 2 more minutes of your time, and so you just quickly understand something. So this is like an example of how to write joint objectives. So on the left, it's going to be like the minimal style of writing. So you just write the goal. Towards the right, you can take screenshots here. You can write them like this as well, like smart targets. But obviously the recommended one is somewhere, because like this is like an ongoing activity, so you don't want to just stop and spend too much time on a certain task. Something like user stories. So like as a something, I want this to happen, so that this is the reason. That's like the best case to write it. Or like objectives. Like this is honestly for me the best way to write it. So you have what you want to do, where do you want to do it, and what time do you want to do it. So action, description, something measurable. That's it. For me, that's the best way to go. Similarly, there's joint commitments as well. So like for joint commitments, I shouldn't have put time when I was explaining TAM. It's like this person will be working on this specifically. So this person is doing this, this person is doing this. So it's very clear on the board as to who's doing what. Then you have the joint resources, and again over here just like resource and estimated quantity. So time is a quantity, people are a quantity, financial things are a resource. All of these things are basically a resource. So you want to utilize it that way. Same here. So this is just writing the resource, but the best way for me again is writing it this way. And again, the book agrees. So again, I really enjoyed reading this book. I honestly recommend, if you guys want to learn more about it, you go into it and read it. Like for example here, this is like a very, very explicit way to write a risk. And risk, obviously, you can see over here, they explain it. There's internal risk, there's equipment risk, there's organization risk, there's external risks. So there's many different kinds of risks that can happen. So for me, again, this is the best way writing it. This risk can lead to this for me, because others will take too long and they might be too difficult. So this is this is an overall description of what TAM is and how you can utilize it. Obviously, I can delve deeper into other things such as, like how do you do the forward pass, how do you do the backward pass. But I really wanted to give you guys an overall what TAM is. And I don't know, if you guys want to learn more about it, you can let me know. Maybe I can get in a meeting with you. Maybe you can text on WhatsApp or something like that, or you can send me an email. All of that would be quite good, and I would not say no to any of that. So I'm just running through a few pages so you guys can kind of see what the book looks like. It's honestly a very nice book, so like you do these things, what I just explained. It's honestly very nice. And one thing about things like this I've learned is never throw away the book and think you have all the ideas. Always use that book as you're running these things. So if I want to utilize TAM for a certain purpose, I'm going to go back to this book, I'm going to read it again of that specific part that I want to utilize, and I'm just going to go ahead and lead that meeting. And obviously I want my team to be trained on that as well if I were to use it. So I need them to know what TAM is, not just hit them with a surprise. So obviously it would be nice for them to kind of have a brief insight into it as well. So this is TAM. Hope you guys liked it, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.